Welcome to Tubi Talk. Let's dive into all the hot takes you need to know.
Hey, it's Kelly. Welcome back to Tubi Talk. And today I'm going to be talking about Dangerously in Love. That's this movie. Now, it starts off as the main character, Mia. She was supposed to be getting married to Benjamin. So Mia's at the church, the chapel, whatever you want to call it, and she's, of course, waiting for the wedding to get started. And the wedding planner comes in and says, "Oh, the wedding is off. The groom ain't here. Yeah, it just ain't happening." Like, she ain't say it like that, but you get it. And of course, Mia is distraught. This movie, first of all, let me say it came out last year, and it's like an hour and 36 minutes or something like that. But anyway, back to the story. Okay, it shows Mia being distraught after what the wedding planner said, and then it cuts to Benjamin is at the house. He got his suitcase in hand. He looking at old pictures of them, and then he's leaving a letter right before he leaves. So it cuts to, they get back to the house, and this is at night now. Like, she doesn't want to talk to anybody. She doesn't come down, and she got her best friends there, Shantae and Lisa. And FYI, I love Shantae in this movie. Y'all will too. And so Shantae is there. Lisa comes in, and she says, "How's our girl doing?" And of course, Shantae is like, She hasn't been down here. She's still in the room." And then she shows her this letter that Benjamin wrote, and she was about to read it until Lisa snatched it out her hand. She was like, "Girl, what are you doing?" And Shantae said, "What does it look like? I'm finna read it." And so Lisa was like, "Girl, we can't do that." And she said, "Why not?" And Lisa was like, "If this happened to you, would you want us to read your letter?" And then Shantae was like, yeah, to save me some heartache, yeah. I want y'all to read it, yes." And I agreed. And then late at night, so Shantae and Lisa are sitting on the couch while Mia's upstairs. And then Shantae tells Lisa that, "I don't think Benjamin really wanted to get married anyway. I think it might be another woman." And then Lisa's like, "No, girl, you crazy. I don't even want to think that. I don't believe it." And I'm thinking, I do. I believe it. And so Shantae was like, "Girl, just think about it. He didn't want to get married in the first place." And she was like, "No, you don't want yourself to believe that." But first of all, it's a huge twist at the end. But I'm gonna get that. So, I'll say maybe like 1 or 2 weeks go by, and Mia's still upstairs. She just doesn't want to come down, of course. And then so Shantae and Lisa go upstairs. They trying to get her spirits up or whatever. And so they go in the room. They was like, "Oh, what is that smell?" Cause she been in the room. She ain't been taking a bath. She ain't been doing nothing. So she was like, "Is that her smelling like that? Girl, get your butt up and take a bath." And then Lisa, she's trying to be, the nice one or whatever. She was like, "Girl, can you say it more nicely?" And then Shantae was like, "Look, see, that's y'all problem right there. Y'all want a friend that just gonna tell y'all what y'all want to hear. That ain't me." And then she was like, "Girl." And so she was like, "Okay." So Shantae goes over to Mia. She was like, "Girl, get up and take a bath. Do something with yourself." And she sees that Mia still has her wedding ring on. So she was like, nope, no. Give me the ring. So she just snatches it off her finger. She was like, "Girl, get up." And then so the next day go by or whatever. And then Lisa said she has to go to work, and then Shantae, because they alternate. One of them is there while the other one's at work, and then whatever. So Shantae comes and she was like, "Oh, oh, this problem finna get fixed today." So she go upstairs, told me like, "Look, shut up, get up, we finna go somewhere, cause you ain't finna be in this house all day long. We're not doing that." So she gets up, they go out. Cause she takes her to lunch or whatever. So she was telling her what she needed to hear, not what she wanted to hear. She was like, "Look, I refuse to sit back and let you wallow in self-pity, because that ain't me. You want a nice friend or whatever, that's what you got Lisa for, because that ain't me. I'm not finna sit back and watch you just wither away." She was like, "You ain't the first woman that this happened to." She said, "Men have been doing this to women for years, son. You need to get back to being you." So, of course, Mia agrees, and they share a little laugh or whatever. And then they get back home, and Lisa's like, "Where y'all been at?" And she was like, "Oh, I took her out to drinks. They went to go get a pedicure, manicure, whatever, because she wanted her to get her eyebrows done and all that crap." So they had a girls' day. So they see that Shantae is, texting in the phone. So they was like, what you smiling about?" She was like, "Girl, I got a date." And she was like, "Can y'all keep a secret?" And then they was like, "Yeah." She said, "Well, I've been on this dating app, and then I've been meeting up with guys and all that mess. I've been having fun." And then Lisa, she was like, "Girl, do you know how dangerous that is?" And Shantae says, "Oh, you mean not any more dangerous than meeting somebody at a club or a bar or a restaurant?" She said it's dangerous either way, which I agree. But so she goes out on her date, and then the next day Lisa and Mia go to lunch. And supposedly Lisa is supposed to have been married for about, I'm gonna say 5 years, I think. So Mia thinks that that's who Lisa is texting, because she all up in her phone. And then watching that, I'm like, yeah, this is giving me a bad vibe. And Mia said, "I want a love like that. What you and your husband got is so romantic and so good." And then Lisa says, "Well, if you want to call it that, that's what made me suspicious about it." I'm like, some ain't right. But whatever. So Mia is getting back to being, herself. And then so she tells them that she's been on this dating app. And then of course Lisa doesn't like it. She was like, "Girl, that is dangerous." And then she was like, "Honey, we're just texting, like we're talking or whatever. We haven't agreed to meet up or nothing. We're just talking." And then she was meeting this guy. His name is Maxwell. So they've been talking, for a minute or whatever. So she goes to the grocery store. She comes back, and then before she gets back, Maxwell texts her like, "Hey, beautiful, how are you?" And whatever, and blah yada blah. And so she was about to go in the house until Benjamin shows up out of nowhere. He's just professing his love and all that other kind of crap. And it was like, "Oh, well, I never meant to hurt you," and all this crap. And then, "Oh, I love you." And then Mia's like, you love me?" And then he says, "Yes." And then she finally grew some balls, and then she was like, "Well, go love somebody else, and whoever you left me for, that's who you need to go back with," and all that crap. So it goes on, like her and Maxwell, they really, they really starting to connect, and they finally met up. And then, they having a few more dates, and then it gets to, like, she's going over his house, they fall asleep on the couch while watching movies, good stuff. So the thing is, this girl out of nowhere, who her name is Chloe, or at least that's who she's claiming to be. So Mia has this yoga class that she goes to, and the girl Chloe is coincidentally taking her class. So after class, she catches up with Mia before she gets on the elevator. She's like, "Look, I need to talk to you." She said, "Do I know you?" And she was like, "Do you know Maxwell?" And she said, "Yeah." She was like, "Well, I'm his ex. Look, I just came to tell you and warn you that Maxwell is not who he says he is. You need to be careful or whatever." And then so Mia's kind of, weirded out. So she calls her brother, Sonny, and he works for the police department. So they all, Mia, Shantae, Lisa, and Sonny, they all in the living room. And then he was like, "Well, where did you meet this guy at?" And she says, she looks around because she, for her, I guess it's embarrassing for her, but she was like, "I met him on a dating app." And then he said, "How many times have I told you how dangerous that is?" And Lisa says, "Yes, that's what I've been trying to tell her." And then Shantae is like, "Okay, can we just stop? Like, it's not any more dangerous than meeting somebody in person at a club or a bar." And then so he wants to check them out. So it goes on, and then next thing you know, Mia is coming from, I'm guessing, another yoga class, and she's talking to, I think, Lisa on the phone, and then she sees that she has a knife in her tire. So that's when she calls her brother again. She was like, it's somebody stabbed my tire. And then Lisa's on the phone like, "Girl, are you serious? What?" So Sonny is really finna do, background check or whatever. And then, but the police chief doesn't want him to do it because he's too close to this case. And then Sonny tells him like, "Look, just give me a few days. This is my baby sister, okay?" So with her being scared, she spent the night at her brother's house because that's the safest place for her to be. But then the next day, Lisa wants Mia to come to her house to stay because coincidentally her husband has been out of town for the past couple of days, maybe like a week or two or whatever. So that's where she's been at. And then so with the tire being slashed, that's when she meets back up with Chloe. And she was like, how did you get out of the relationship with Maxwell?" Because they all think, not all of them, but they're all kind of suspicious about Maxwell. Because Shantae brought up, "How do we know it's not Benjamin? He could be the one who stabbed your tire. I mean, you did reject him after he confessed his love and all that crap." So they suspicious of both guys, basically. So when she met up with Chloe, she was like, "Girl, I just had a good support system. That's what you need to get out of this situation." So it cuts to Sonny, and of course with Sonny, he brought Chloe in too, since she's been in contact with Mia. And then Chloe's telling Sonny like, "Look, he was my ex-boyfriend and he's crazy, okay," and all this kind of crap. And then so he brings Benjamin in, and he was like, "Look, why are you trying to hurt my sister?" He was like, "Hurt her? I don't want to hurt her. I never wanted to hurt her. Like, I still love Mia. Like, I don't want to hurt her at all." So he was like, "Look, if I find out that it's you, you're gonna be in for a world of hurt." So then he brings Maxwell in. He was like, "Look, I want you to stay behind this," because they, the two-way mirror thing or whatever. He was like, "Look, I want you to stay behind here. I'm finna go talk to her to see, what's really going on." And Maxwell stops him before he leaves. He's like, "Hey, I thought you brought me here because you said you wanted me to hear what Chloe has to say. He said, yeah. And so Maxwell's like, that's not Chloe. And Sonny's like, what do you mean? That's your ex-girlfriend. What are you talking about? So Maxwell's like, I think I would know my own ex-girlfriend. We did date. And that ain't Chloe. And Sonny's like, wait. So you mean to tell me you have never seen this woman before? And he said, no. I don't know who this woman is. So Sonny has a, like a suspicious look on his face. Like, what? So he goes back in with Maxwell still, on the other side of the glass or the mirror, whatever you want to call it. So he sat down. He was like, who are you? And she was like, I'm Chloe. I just told you that. He was like, lady, I don't have all day. Who the hell are you? Really? And so Chloe has this look like, oh crap, they must have found out. So it cuts to Shantae, Mia, and Lisa are all they're at Lisa's house, of course, because that's where Mia's been. They having, a girls' night or whatever, because they drinking wine, they cooking, and they talking about having a movie night or whatever. And then Mia tells them, look, I'm a little tired. I'm finna go lie down. So they was like, oh, okay, we'll handle it. So she goes upstairs, and then her phone rings, and it's Maxwell. And he's like, wait, don't hang up. And he was like, look, I really do love you. I just want you to hear me out. And then she was like, okay. And then, cause the letter, this letter that I was talking about, when it was Lisa and Mia by themselves, Lisa hands her the letter, and this was before they had this girl's name. Lisa hands her the letter, and she was like, look, me and Shantae wanted to open it up and read it before we told you about it, because we didn't want you to be upset or anything. So she reads it, and it is not what Maxwell's real letter was supposed to say. The letter that Lisa gave Mia was, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you, I love you, maybe you're better off without me, crap like that. So back to girls' night. So when she was talking to Benjamin on the phone, he was like, did you get my letter? And she said, yeah, I got it. Like, you said you love me and all this crap, and then I didn't really want to read it. So he was like, so you're not upset? And she said, upset about what? And he said, oh, you must have didn't get the letter. And she said, yeah, I got the letter. And he said, you don't sound upset like I thought you would. So he said, let me just send it to your email or whatever. So he sent it. And so she read it, and she was like, okay, I'm reading it, blah, 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 you love me and all this mess. I didn't mean to sleep with. And then so she looks up from her tablet, and she was like, you slept with Lisa? And then he said, that's how I know you didn't get the real letter. I take it she didn't really give you the real letter. And then she says, no, that's not the letter that Lisa gave me. And then he said, I thought so. Look, I need to warn you. You need to watch your back about Lisa. So, and then she tells him to hold on because Sonny is on the other line, because Chloe cracked and told Sonny who she really was. And then she was like, okay, look, I'm not really Chloe, okay? I was hired. And he was like, by who, lady? We don't have all day. Who hired you? Who? And then she said, Lisa. And then he was like, what? Lisa? And then he was like, lady, if you don't tell me the truth right now, you're going to be behind bars, okay? And then she was like, look, I'm not lying, okay? Lisa hired me. And then so when Sonny was on the other line with Mia. He was like, "Where you at?" And then she said, I'm at Lisa's. I'm still at Lisa's. And then he was like, "Okay, look, I need you to be calm, but I need you to get up out of there now." And then she said, "I can't do that because Shantae is downstairs." And then he was like, "You know what? I'm on my way." And then so she go back downstairs. She tries to act calm. She go back downstairs, and she's trying to, signal to Shantae like, but she can't really do that because Lisa's in the kitchen also. And so, they go back to pretending to, cook or chop vegetables or whatever. And so Shantae said, "Okay, lady, so what movie are we watching now?" Because she really don't know what's going on right now. And so they was like, "Oh, we can find any movie." And then Lisa's like, "Oh, we can find any movie to watch or whatever." And then next thing you know, a phone is buzzing in a drawer. And then Shantae is standing right next to the drawer. She picks it up. She's like, Lisa, why do you have a burner phone?" And then that's when Mia turns around. And then she said, "It's from somebody named Chloe." And then she said, "Ain't Chloe?" And then Mia's like, "Maxwell's ex-girlfriend?" And then so Shantae's like, "Lisa, how do you know Chloe?" So Lisa tries to grab for the phone, and then Mia like just snatches it up and then put it on speaker, and then you can hear Chloe saying, Lisa, they found out. They found out that I'm not really Chloe. They found out that you hired me." And then Shantae is like, "What the hell is going on?" And then Mia's like, "Yeah, Lisa, what is going on? Why don't you enlighten us about Maxwell's ex-girlfriend?" And then she says, "All this time, I've been thinking that it was Maxwell. You put that in my head when really you the one who been doing this to me." And then Shantae's like, "Lisa." And then Mia was like, I don't even know who you are anymore." And then she like blurts it out like, "You're the one who slept with Benjamin." And then Shantae is like, "What?" And then so they was about, like Shantae and Mia was about to get out of the kitchen until Lisa grabs this, I'm guessing it was a vase or something, and then pow, just smashes Shantae upside the head. So of course she's knocked out, and then so Mia's running, and then Lisa grabbed a butcher knife. So, and then of course, I don't know why, but people always fall in movies like this. So Mia fell on the floor, and then Lisa tells her that, "I love you. Don't you understand? It's supposed to be me and you, not us and Shantae. Me and you." And then Mia was like, "Look, I need to go check on Shantae, okay? She's probably bleeding." And then Leah's like, "Did you not hear what I just said? I love you." Like, she is really in love with Mia, supposedly best friend. "Everything I did it for you." So she ends up tripping her. The knife flew out of her hand. And then next thing you know, Shantae, which I am so glad she's not really knocked out. She came with a frying pan and bam, she just hits her upside the head. And then so of course they call the police, and then it cuts to them being at the police station. So Lisa's coming out in handcuffs, just with a big ass smile on her face, and then Sonny let Shantae and Mia know, like, yeah, did y'all know that she's not married anymore? And they looking at each other like, "What?" And then he said, "Yeah, her husband moved away like 2 months ago. They've been separated for 2 years now." And they looking like, "What?" And then Shantae's like, "So she's been lying about having a husband this entire time?" So of course the case wraps up, and then Sonny has to go you know, handle something or whatever with other police officers. And you got Mia and Shantae sitting there, and they like, we know now, no more dating apps. And then Mia's like, yeah, no more men or whatever. And then Mia's like, yeah. And then she said, wait, Maxwell wasn't the one behind this. And then Shantae's like, you're right. And then she says, so can I still keep dating Maxwell? And then Shantae's like, you're right, you better. If you don't, then I will. And it just goes off with them laughing. And then they said, before it goes off, they was like, look, no more best friends. No more other best friends. We don't need none of that. And I agree. No more new people. And then that's when it goes off with them just laughing and cutting up with each other. I seriously recommend watching this movie. I love this movie so much. I have seen it multiple times. I've seen this movie so many times. I love it so much. But anyway, that wraps up another movie review. Check back with me because I will be doing another movie on Tubi because I love Tubi. But anyway, see y'all later. Peace.
Thank you for watching Tubi Talk. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.